Hi everyone, and welcome to this Google Digital Garage session on social media strategy. I'm Annie and I'm one of the Google Digital Garage trainers for this free digital skills program. And we're very lucky because I'm not alone today. We also have Glenn. Glenn is another digital coach and he is very experienced in this space as well. So if you want to join in the chat, please do sign into YouTube and start chatting to Glenn. Just a bit about myself. I've had my own online business, so I know the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I've also been in marketing for most of my career and write and deliver courses to universities. So hopefully I can be of use to you today. So this is not a standalone session. We have lots of other sessions as well, all at the g.co/digital garage, and you can find the link just under below. There is one course that I'd really love to bring your attention to if you're interested in marketing, and that's the Foundations of Digital Marketing. And you can sign up to that course for free, and it's all accredited by the Open University and the Institute of Advertising. So you can find all of that again at g.co/digital garage. So some quick housekeeping. If you have any trouble hearing or seeing me, please just press refresh or F2. That often irons out the problem. So without further ado, let's look at social media strategy. So we probably are mostly on social media in this group today. Do share in the chat what channels you're on, what platforms. But how can we use social media to help us from a business perspective? That's the first element that we're going to look at today. Then we're going to look at building a social media strategy together so that we can take that back to our businesses and start applying it. And finally, we're going to look at some simple tips and tools that are low cost to help getting ourselves going on social media. Now, you may find out of these sessions that there's some more questions that you'd want to ask, or you want to go a bit more deep dive. We have some free mentoring for all UK small businesses and charities. Simply go to g.co/UK mentoring and sign up for any of those, whether you want to get your business to new audiences, whether you want to learn more about how to use specific platforms, or whether you just want to grow and develop your existing business. There are lots of support and help for you there. So drop in the chat and do let me know where you're from. I'm seeing a few hellos. I'm seeing somebody has dropped in from Malaysia, which is fantastic. So lots of people from all over the world join these sessions, and we welcome you. So please do join in the chat and let us know where you're logging in from. Also, let us know what your thoughts are in how you think social media can help grow a business. So what do you think they can do in terms of using social media? What do you think it can do to help grow your business? Obviously, we know it's had an impact on all of our communication, particularly in the times of the pandemic, but do let us know. So we've got some hellos. Avsa from London. Hello there. Juliet from sunny Scotland. I'm glad it's sunny with you today, Juliet. Mary Evans from Shropshire. We've also got Misra from Pakistan. We've got Kariesa from Indonesia, and we've got Paul from the Philippines. So welcome everybody. And Yushinish from India. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce those beautiful names properly. So welcome all of you, and please do join in to the chat and let us know your thoughts on social media and how it grows a business for you. And Jan from Israel, fantastic. So wonderful to have you from all over the globe today. So let's explore some ways that social media can help to grow your business. So first of all, customers do live and consumers do live on social media just as we do. So 85% of us are spending time on YouTube and 78% of us are on Facebook. So they're the big platforms, but there's many more besides. But the way we communicate has completely changed in recent years, particularly using mobile. So mobile is now making us change our attitudes, our behaviors, and the way we communicate with the world around us. We use it to find answers to questions. We use it to give us information, to empower us, and also to obviously shop, buy, and learn. So there's so much out there for us to do when it comes to the online world and social media in particular. So social media is helping us to connect with our customers directly. And the clue is in the name. So social is very much about creating that two-way relationship and communication that we never had with our consumers directly in the digital space before. So social media has brought all that kind of collaborative communication together and made it very exciting for us to reach out and learn all about our consumers. And with the massive numbers of people, it's actually higher now than 44 million. The numbers are more in the 50 million mark. But with that amount of people on social media, we know it's a place to communicate and a place to reach people. Because if we're not there, then our competitors are likely to be there. And the average use has gone up as well. So here it's showing us 1 hour and 54, but this was pre-pandemic. So you can probably imagine those numbers have risen in that time. How much are you on social media, for example, every day, if you dare to admit? So it is basically a place where we're meeting people, we're hanging out and we're spending time, but also it can do a lot for growing sales as well. So social media can take us right through what we call the buying funnel, everything from first becoming aware of a product or service to learning about it, engaging with it, and also buying and becoming loyal to that brand. So social media helps us along that funnel of behavior in terms of sales. But the first thing it does is helps us to reach new audiences. So with 84% of the UK population online on social media, we know that that's an opportunity to reach those audiences and to connect with them in that space. It isn't always free though, so we need to think about using our resources correctly and ensuring that we do reach out and connect with those audiences in the right way. So we'll talk more about that a bit later on. So in regards to new business as well, there's so much we can do with social media in terms of creating partnerships, opportunities, and giving you a chance to familiarize yourself with the way customers see the world and view the world. So everything we do is here to solve a problem when we're a business. So if we can find that solution through our customers, it's a fantastic way to grow our business. It also really helps us better than ever to target specific types of customers. So it helps us to learn where they are in their life cycle, their thoughts, their likes, and we can connect and learn and grow from them. So it's a real hive of information for us to develop our brand alongside. So asking questions to our customers about what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what they like to engage with, giving them polls, doing research, that's all something that will help generate better ideas for product services and better sales as a result. And of course, just like the offline world, we want to create relationships and partnerships. And we can do that through social media by reaching out to advocates and people that can help celebrate and become our virtual salesman online or salesperson. So even if we're really niche, we can start to generate sales through social media, through understanding, collecting with, and collaborating with our audiences. So aside from generating more sales, it's also about how we add value. So as we learn more about our customers and we understand their needs, we can add value to them. So a part of that is raising our customer service levels. In some cases, customer service, in many cases actually, trumps everything else in terms of what people are wanting from their experience at shopping. So if we know there's a reliable customer service there that is going to be responsive, answer us and care about us, we are more likely to buy from that brand or that particular company. So raising those customer service levels through social media, for example, using the chatbots to be available round the clock or answering those questions as they come through, is certainly a way to help supporting value for our brand. But as mentioned, one of the most important things, and the clue is in the word social, is that two-way communication. How are we connecting with our audiences? How are we finding out their needs and ensuring that they are heard, listened to, and understood? Because essentially a lot of people do use different platforms to create some kind of friendship or connection with the brand itself, because trust is what is needed through the digital world, because trust is something that is harder to develop in the online space than the offline space, because if you meet people person to person, then you get a sense of them. So building up that personality, that connection, that two-way conversation in the online world also helps to build trust, and that is a huge part of developing our brand and business in the online space. We can also give a new side to the business. So we can start to tell our story, go behind the scenes, give them even more reason to trust us, but also to connect with us because we all have a tribe. So we can't appeal to everybody, nobody does, but finding our tribe and connecting with them is what we can do so well in the social media world. And it can show the side of our business that you otherwise wouldn't see. So giving them a real sense of who we are and what we're about, and also why we do it. So a story of us and our brand. And on the back of that, build up those super fans, that community that we want to create, because building a community is what it's all about. Getting people to actually connect with us and to support us is what we want to do with social media the most. We can also improve our marketing. So ultimately, that will be a huge goal for many of us to help get our visibility out there, to help us get connected and to help us grow and sell. So one of those things is to get noticed in the search engines, and social media can help us do that. You may have seen Twitter hashtags in the search engines. You may have spotted the odd tweet coming up, and that will help get more visibility in the search engine results. And also, as we get to know more of our customers, we can attract more of the same. So learning about who our customers are and our audiences is key, because then we can learn who they follow, what their interests are, and that will attract more people to our site by creating content that they value and that they care about. And also, don't forget the insights that you can get from learning not only from your own analytics on social media, but also looking at your competitors and what they're doing in the social media world. You can often learn what's going well, what's going badly, and you can improve on where the mistakes are happening for your competitors. So have a look at what they're saying on those free tweets that they're giving out publicly, or those Facebook posts that they're putting up, and keep an eye on your competitors to help grow your business as well. So there's some key things to ask yourself when you're looking at social media. And one of those is to, sorry, I was just refreshing the captions there. So one of the things to look at when you are on social media is, are we getting the post driving people to our website? So are our posts on social media actually driving people to our website? Because we can get quite attracted to what is actually happening on your social media page itself and maybe the likes that we're getting through. But if our goal is to actually get our own brand visible and to get people visiting our website and to get people buying from us, then we'll want to look at our Google Analytics and see if we're getting people coming from social media. So that's one thing we'd want to check when we're now doing our social media posts. Also, what kind of updates can I post? Now, there's different tools out there that we can use now to find out what to use. One of the tools I'd recommend is BuzzSumo, because that helps to give you ideas on what kind of content's worked before, and it gives you some titles that you can replicate and create. So you can see then how many people have liked or shared a particular kind of post on Facebook before. And if it's the same keywords as you're using, you might want to use a similar title to create content as well. You might also want to find out who your influential followers are, because once you find out who they are, you can turn them into advocates. And a tool like BuzzSumo again, or Sprout Social in the discovery section, will show you the kind of people that are finding you, discovering you, and connecting with you. And you might also need to look at the best time to engage with your audience, because if your audience is coming on at a certain time of day and you're not posting at that time of the day, you could be missing out on your key audience. So for example, commuters, in particularly before the pandemic, but still now, have dwell time where they listen to or look at social media as they're traveling. So that might be a time of day that you want to consider if you are appealing to commuters. And to find time of day out, you might want to use a tool called Hootsuite, which looks at the best times to post. So there's lots of tools out there to help us understand how to connect best with our audience in terms of the time of day and the content we want to create. But remember, one thing that is really important is our attention spans are depleting and diminishing all the time. So in actual fact, the average attention span is 8 seconds, but in the social media world, it's just 2. So we've got to think, when we have our thumbs scrolling, what will make us stop and pay attention? Because those attention spans are really, really short. There's also lots of competition out there. So think about the kind of competition that's already out there and how you belong differently to that competition and what you can share that will make you hard to compete with for attention. You know, what are your points of difference that make you special and make you connect with your audience? And remember, although it's spoken as being free, it takes time, resources, and people to create this content, as well as the content development itself in terms of the tools we're using. So think about what kind of resources we have and what we want to create and why we want to create it, but more on that a bit later. Finally, do consider, once it's public, it's out there, and especially if it goes viral, it's hard to contain. So think about the kinds of things you want to be known as a brand, and be careful about what you put out there. So a couple of comments there, a couple of comments from Juliet. It helps build trust. Yes, shows personality. And Avsa, can help expand your audience. Yes, absolutely. Brilliant. Completely true. So in terms of your questions then, so we've had a question come through from Kieran. Can you suggest any reference to supporting and to support identifying where your typical customer hangs out on social media and how to obtain demographics? So a bit later in the session, we'll be going through this in more detail, Kieran, but thanks for your question. So you'll be able to find out where and how we suggest you collect that information, but that's a good question to ask. Thank you. So now we're going to look at how to build a social media strategy. So we can get a lot of opportunity through social media, but if we just throw out content out there, which is quite tempting to do, we call it spray and pray. We don't actually hit the target we want to hit. So we need to think more about why are we doing what we're doing and how to build a strategy around that. So some of those key building blocks we're going to have a look at now. So first of all, as I've mentioned throughout, the most important thing really is looking at our audience first. So understanding our audience will be the first step to building a strategy, because once we know that, we can start creating content with them in mind. Next, it's thinking about the goals. So goals are important. If we know what kind of goals we're setting, we can see if we've actually hit the mark when we've created them. And it also means that we're aligning with the bigger goals that the business has, so that social media feeds into the greater goals. Social platforms. So not all social platforms are made the same, and we don't want to give the same content on each of those platforms. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Tone of voice. So how we speak online is a tone of voice, how we behave. It conveys our character, and different content may require different tones of voice as well. And finally, we need to evaluate what success looks like for us and to see how effective that has been. Because if we don't evaluate it, we can't really decide if it has worked for us. So we will look at some measurement ideas as well. So to start with, we need to think about our audience. And this is something I'd spend a bit of time on when you can. So I'd probably take a photo of this and keep it as a log, because these are the questions that you want to really find out about as regards your audience, to help tailor the content to suit and to ensure that you're reaching your audience effectively. So finding out who they are, and we'll go into that in a minute, and what are they into? So what kind of things do they have an interest in? Is it a certain kind of politics? Is it kind of music? What kind of interest do they care about? Who and what influences them? So what are the people out there? Who are the people out there that matter to that audience? So I always think of this as regarding celebrities, what kind of celebrities they might look to and support. That will give us an idea of what kind of things matter to them and the kind of outlook they have. And it also helps us to know if we're modeling ourselves correctly in terms of how we're being recognized by our audiences as well. And when are they usually online? So the times of day that I mentioned before that Hootsuite can help us with, but also Google Analytics. We can have a look at Google Analytics to find out more about demographics. And what social media are they using? So Having a look at our competitors and our other users on the competitors' sites, we can find out what kind of social media they're interested in as we go as well. But to find our audience in more depth, the first thing to do is to speak to those real people, to get a real feel and understanding of who we're talking to, a real deeper empathy, basically, with who they are. So we can do that through speaking to them over the phone or in person if we operate in those different ways in our business. Or if we do just operate online, then we might want to send out emails and connect with them through an electronic format instead. But speaking to real people is really essential because it helps us to know better about what matters to them. And if it's not just our customers and we're starting out, then we might want to reach out further afield and start doing some market research and speaking to people that could be connected to our business, that might have an interest in our business. So we might have an idea based on our competitors, who our customers might be, and we could reach out to them with a survey, for example. We then want to think about the kind of groups that we are attracting and segment them. So, for example, if we sell lots of different pet foods, can we find the cat food lovers or the cat owners and the dog owners and the people in those different groups so that we can create content separately for those kind of offerings and those different audiences? We can then create content based on, for example, lifestyle or life stage as well. So the social media platforms make it far better for us to be able to reach people for their interests and not just who they are. And then, as mentioned, building on that online survey. So there's surveys such as SurveyMonkey that we can use to reach out and find out more information about our customers directly and ask them those all important questions. Other insights we can use to find out about our customers are the Google marketing platforms, like the ones shown on here, and also our social media page insights. So we can find out all that information that will give us an idea about who's engaging with us and also who might be buying from us when we look deeper into analytics. So this gives us more of an understanding of our customers, and it helps us to make things more relevant and more tailored to those audiences so that it's specific for them and useful. So if we can find out there's a specific age group that is more interested in our content, then we can start to tailor the content to that age group or particular gender, for example. So learning more about our customers is very important because by connecting with them, we're trying to speak to them directly, and that makes them feel seen and heard. Whereas if we try and speak to everyone, we actually don't really speak to anyone, and it just sounds like we're shouting rather than we're sharing and we're connecting, which is what social media is really about. So once we've got an idea and a bit more clarity on who our audience is, it's then thinking about what are we wanting to create social media for? So if we want to go to a platform level, we might have a mission per platform. So for example, some people use Twitter as a customer service platform, or we might want to increase our customer service levels on Facebook by having automated chatbots. There's lots of different things we might consider when we're creating our goals, but we want to feed it into the bigger goal of the business as well. So looking at what the business is needing most at that time, whether it's to develop loyalty or whether it's to create brand awareness if we're just starting out, we'll think about that as we're creating our content and setting our goals for social media. So if we are wanting to increase our customer service, then lots of different ways of doing that, including the chat boxes, including being more responsive within a time frame, will help us to reach those targets. Growing more brand awareness, that's down to video content, visual content, blogs, lots of different ways to let people know we exist and let them know about us. And generating more sales, that's where we start to deepen the relationship and let them know the value that these products and services are bringing into their life through developing content that matters to them and that tells them what solution we're offering. And then, of course, looking at getting more people to our site is an important thing as well. So don't forget that social media isn't just a platform of and by itself, but what is it doing for your bigger business in terms of growing it and getting people to your website as well? And one of the wonderful things that social media does is it gives us an opportunity to connect with influencers. So those virtual salespeople, if you like, online for us that really do match our values and interests can help spread the message of our brand and start connecting with those influencers will help grow your brand and your business very well. And some businesses grow potentially mostly on those bases as well. So think about reaching out to those influencers and the people in your space that matter to you, and you'll be able to start building up the awareness and the connections. So one thing that's worth doing from this session, and I'd really invite you to do, is think about setting one social media goal now for your business. And this is a really important thing to do, because otherwise we're spraying and praying. And to start with, thinking what that goal might be for your business. So where are you in the buying funnel? Are you just starting out and you're needing to spend a lot of time on awareness? Or are you more deeper into the funnel and looking more now at engaging with those numbers that you've already created and getting them involved in what you're doing? So depending on where you are in the funnel, whether it's awareness, engagement, whether you've got your buyers, but you want to keep them loyal, wherever they are, you want to think about the kind of goal that you want to present on social media. So have a think about that today, and what kind of goal and what kind of platform you might use that goal on. And think about any barriers as well. So we've talked about identifying your audience. We've talked about the importance of that. And the biggest part of that is actually understanding and empathizing with them. So every business has a problem, and we are here to make a solution to that problem. So every business finds out what problem they are going to solve for the customers and how that solution is going to best serve their particular audience. So understanding how our customers feel and think, and really getting to the shoes and lifestyles and feelings and pains of our customers, will help us to answer our goals better, because we're able to know what their needs are and provide them with a solution through the content we create. Think about any barriers that we might have in terms of creating those goals, what kind of things we might come up against. And then develop a list of goals, a list of activities we need to achieve that goal, so we can break it down. So what kind of content, for example, will reach brand awareness better on Facebook, and make a list, for example, and then think how we're going to deliver that and assign it to particular people, and make sure that it's put into place so that you can really help remove any barriers to those pieces of content coming to life. The next thing to think about is how we are choosing our channels. So are we speaking to our audiences as business to businesses, or are we speaking to consumers instead? So that will have a different focus. If we're speaking to consumers, we're going to be looking more about a day in the life of, answering their pain points, solving their problems, what are their motivators, and giving them a support throughout that, and an encouragement and a personality to do it. If it's a business, we're thinking more about what are they needing in terms of the business channels, and what kind of platforms may be more suited to business. So they're still people, so they might go on other platforms as well, but perhaps LinkedIn might be a popular one if you're looking at business to business and you're looking for particular job titles, for example. But the important thing is to trial and to test. So the first answer doesn't come through right away. It's all about iteration in the marketing world, which means we try it, we test it, we see what works, and we repeat. So keep trying and testing different things and see what works best for your audience. It might be time of day. It might be that you find that your audience, from doing your research, is not on the platforms that you've been using. Or you might be getting engagement on your platforms, but it's not leading to any results in terms of coming to your website. So you might want to try and test different things to see what is most effective for you. And remember, those different channels require different strategies. So if we are using Facebook, we're speaking more as a friend. So it's more of an intimate space, and we don't want to interrupt them with lots of adverts. We want to really connect with them with topics that matter to them. If we're on Twitter, it's more real-time, quick, fast feed of information. So think about the mindset that people are in. Are they really busy on the move, or do they have a bit more time to connect with the content? And what do those platforms represent to the people that are on it? Because that will require different kinds of content on different platforms as well. But often we recommend having one or two platforms, not going to too many, just because of the amount of time and resources it takes to keep in that space. So look at the bigger platforms and the ones that your audience are most aligned with, and start there. So to start with, this is just a top look at each of these different channels that you might want to use. So Twitter, as mentioned, it's very conversational, it's quick fire, it's real-time news, and it's really good for things like polls and research. You might have heard of Dollar Shave Club. This has been a fantastic brand with exponential results. It's done very well in terms of understanding its audience. So the Dollar Shave Club realised that mostly men did not care about having the top of the range, all singing, all dancing, technical shaving. They just wanted something that did the job, did it well, and did it cheaply. So on the back of that, they learned a lot through doing polls and research from their customers that they needed something that was simple, fun, and easy to access. So they created a subscription-based model for shaving, and they kept it cheap, and they kept all their advertising humorous so that it just fitted nice and easily into their lives. And that went beyond all expectations to becoming a very, very successful business. So really empathizing with and understanding your audience is really critical to being very effective, and using these tools on social media to do that, to understand your audience and to ask questions, is really valuable. Facebook is the shop window of your business, if you like. It's an opportunity to say when you're open, what you're doing. It can link to your main website. And remember always to keep call to action. So a call to action is asking your customer to do something, because we often forget, click here, shop now, phone now. All of those can help connecting with our customers and asking them to do something without thinking. So the goal is don't get your customers to think, basically. Facebook is a visual channel, but it also is an interactive channel in terms of creating those longer form content and blogs and connections. And more recently, what's been really popular on Facebook is our video content. So if you do feel confident, it just requires a phone and a bit of confidence, and you can start to create your story behind the scenes and really develop that trust and personality with your audience. So there's a lot of opportunity on Facebook for creating connections and building real friendships with your audience if you understand them correctly. Another platform, is Instagram, and that is a very visual platform, and particularly good if you're in the fashion space, the design space, for example. Anything visual is particularly popular in the Instagram world. This is a great place to build up influencers and develop brands, but what is important is to keep consistency and what we call one voice, one look. So having a visual that doesn't interrupt somebody's feed, but shows them what you stand for. And that's having a look that people can recognize and consistently. So looking at Letterfolk as an example on screen, you can see that they've got similar colors, design, and it's high quality, and they know what to expect every time they see it. So it's not something that interrupts their feed, but complements their feed, and they know what to expect and they feel comfortable with it. And it showcases their products in creative ways without disrupting the customer's experience. So that's really important in the Instagram space, to keep it visual and to keep it attractive and consistent across the platforms. Another important platform, if you're looking at the business to business space, is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn helps you from a search point of view because it helps people to know that you exist as a company. It's another way to turn up in the search engine results page. And it's also a way to show the credibility and trust of your company behind the scenes. So as we do look to customers for reviews and answers and what people think, we also care about how people are treated in the workplace. And if companies can showcase a very good relationship with their internal customers, with their employees, that will appeal to us as customers, because we like to see that people are treated well, because we too are people. So people buy from people. And LinkedIn is a great place to show what is happening behind the scenes, new hires, exciting things that have happened with your employees, showcasing their particular skills and merits and what they've achieved, as well as letting people know thought leadership and sharing blogs and articles, and also connecting with different groups. So if you speak to different groups on LinkedIn, you can start to build up opportunity and business on the back of that as well. YouTube, so this is now the second biggest search engine after Google, and people do use it to search and to find content. And it's the motion and sound and interactivity that people look for. It brings to life the idea of the business and its brand. And you can use anything from product reviews to how-tos. So anything that can be brought to life through motion, sound, and visual is good for YouTube. So making simple videos, there's now an app that we have on YouTube, which is the Director of Business app. You can quickly make short videos and connect with your audience that way. There is a session on create videos for YouTube, so I definitely recommend seeing that, and you'll be able to see whether short form or long form content might suit you and what the difference is between the two. But there are many different templates and opportunities in using YouTube as well. So once we know the kind of platforms that we think are going to be best suited to our audience, and we know the goals we're going to have for those audiences, we need to think about what kind of tone of voice we will have. And one of the great things to do is to start with a document, which is basically your brand guidelines. So whether you're just starting out or you're a bit into your business or you've been there a while, it's always good to go and set up that document and have it to pass out to other people that might be running your social media platforms in time. And the things you want to include on there are the do's and don'ts, what people should and shouldn't say on social media, because they are representing you. And so you want the brand voice to be correct in terms of what your thoughts are. And also the style of image. What kind of images are we going to use so we can keep that one voice, one look consistency and let people know what we do? And what logos will we use? Will we use a grayscale, colourful? What kind of size logo? And ensure that we have that consistent approach across all content. And then think about the fonts and colours that stand for our business. I know that there's a number of brands out there that come to mind when you think of nostalgia. For example, Soap and Glory is a really sassy and great brand that stood out from its nostalgic images and the black and white with a flash of colour through it as well. So think about what suits your brand and also the kind of personality that you want to represent as a brand. And we'll talk a bit more about personality too. So in terms of brand personality, we do have a session on building your brand online, your brand personality and your brand in general. So do have a look at that one. But what is important to think about is your tone of voice. So that will be shown through words as well as through speaking. So it's all forms of communication or even through colour. So building up that kind of personality. Are you going to be fun? Are you going to be serious? Are you going to be provocative? And depending on the kind of content you're using, you might alternate some of that content. So if you're sharing news, it might be a bit more serious. If you're doing a how-to on YouTube, it might be a bit more fun. So do think about the kind of ways that you're going to share your content in terms of your tone of voice on each of the pieces of content, as well as in general as well. Now, how many of you recognize this campaign? Please do drop in the chat and I will have a chat with you. So this is a campaign called This Girl Can, and it was quite an amazing campaign. It actually got 37 million views on YouTube and Facebook, and it was very popular because what happened with this campaign is there was real insight into understanding how women thought about sport. So this campaign discovered that there was a huge gender divide where most men were committing and creating, doing sports, whereas 75% of women wanted to do sports but weren't due to fear of judgment. So by learning the fear of judgment, whether it was because they were spending too much time away from the family, whether it was how they looked or just basically their technique, whatever the judgment may be, This Girl Can campaign started to identify with those groups, learn about them, do the research, empathize, and then brought about these sorts of quotes to show the thoughts behind it. And they twisted around, flipped on their heads, the fears and doubts into empowered thinking and opportunities. So that in the end, they got those 37 million views. They also got 500,000 shares on Facebook, and I think it was 660,000 tweets. So lots and lots of content that was happening as a result of understanding our audiences and knowing the tone of voice that was being used accurately. So this is an opportunity for us to think about how we can do that with our brands too. And step 5, thinking about success. So what does success look like? That will depend ultimately on the goal we're setting, but are we looking to grow our audience, to develop influencers, or to get better customer service? So for example, if we're looking at customer service, we might start seeing how many 5-star reviews we've got, as opposed to before we did the focus on customer service. We might also look at how many customer calls are answered or how many messages are answered in what time period on social media. So all of these will help us to decide if we have effectively done what we set out to do in terms of, for example, customer service excellence. And also on social media, we might want to look at how far we're spreading in terms of brand awareness, and we can use different tools to do that. There's tools such as mention.com and socialmention.com that help us see what people are saying about our products, services, or even our brand in time. And then we can see how many mentions there are that are coming on the back of any campaign we might put out there. So there's lots of ways for us to see how often we are mentioned, as well as looking at tools like Hootsuite and other tools that are telling us about people that are already talking about us, and BuzzSumo.com. So finding out our metrics and answers and seeing how well we're doing is very important when we're setting out goals. The next thing to consider is if something is working well and we've put out a piece of content and it's really getting good engagement, is thinking about how can we grow that to a wider audience and amplify that message. So at that point, we might consider paying for the content that's worked well. And then think about how that content can work across different platforms as well. And if our goal is sales, we'd want to concentrate on the content that is converting for us, that is making sales. So we'd want to look at our analytics and see where the sales are coming from social media, and then grow more of that content and promote it and advertise it on the back of that. So we'll bring it all together then. So first of all, we're going to look at our audience. We're going to find out who they are, their likes, their dislikes. We're going to speak to them directly or create surveys, and we're going to put them into different groups of what they like and who they are. We're then going to set out those goals. We're going to think about, are we growing our customer awareness, our brand awareness at this point? Or are we wanting to develop on loyalty and build better customer service? Or are we wanting to create more engagement, for example, or more sales? So thinking about where we are in that customer funnel, in that sales funnel, and what goals we want to focus on at the moment, and set one for ourselves. We then need to think about what platforms our audience are on and what we can afford to be on and spend time and money on in terms of the social platforms. Next is thinking about the tone of voice. So what kind of tone of voice are we going to be known as, and creating those brand guidelines to ensure that people are recognizing who we are. And even if we're not able to run social media at some point, we can pass on that document so people understand who we are and do it for us. And then measuring, what is success? What kind of things have worked for us, and how can we measure what has worked well? So just now stopping for questions. It looks like Glenn's been doing an amazing thing in the chat as always, and no questions as yet. There is one more stop for questions, so please do use this opportunity to keep them coming through. And if you are feeling there's a lot you want to take in from this session, don't worry, because it's recorded and you can come back within 24 hours to watch again. So tools and best practice. So we're going to finish now on a few tools and what you might use to create best practice within your business. So your social channels are often public. So these best practice tips are how we can make these strategies a success for us. So we talked about what sort of content can we share? And that's really a big question for many people. What kind of content can we create? So we might want to, for example, create new product services announcements and services and products. So we want to let people know what we're doing so they can see we're fresh, we're up to date, we're current, and we let them know what we have on offer. And people find that useful and interesting, especially if they're following us for a period of time. Then we need to think about what's behind the scenes. So bringing our brand to life. I know that there's a fantastic example of this with somebody that I've worked with in the past, and they bring to life behind the scenes of their business, and they share what is happening day to day in their business world, and their business is an accountancy firm. So the accountancy world has always been seen in the past as something that's a bit outdated, about a bit behind the scenes, and somebody that you might not necessarily trust. But this accountant is very forward thinking, and she realized that her audience, and it's important to remember who your audience was or are, were people that were also starting out in creating their own businesses. And because of that, she realized that they would have a journey to creating a business just as she was having a journey to creating a business. And she documents through videos, blogs, articles every day about what is happening within her business and her personal life, because business affects your personal life as well. So that she's created an audience that not only buy from her as an accountancy firm, but also come to live events that she creates, so that she meets in person these people as well as online. So it's just grown and grown and grown and become really successful. So by sharing your insights from behind the scenes and being a real human with other humans and connecting with people in the real world and digitally, you can start to build up a real following through your audiences. So having a glimpse behind the scenes and sharing what your brand and business is about can be really valuable through social media, because it can lead to expansion of business, it can lead to new opportunities, etc. Also, product related tips. So some of our products, they could be used in multiple ways, different users, different uses, and we can show people how that can be used through creating how-to videos and demos and tips and putting that together for people, because people like to be inspired and they like to see different ways of using products and services. So that's another opportunity through social media, bringing things to life. I saw something, for example, with a scarf, and it was about 30 ways of tying your scarf, and it actually made it very interesting and colourful and attractive in the social media world, because people could start to see there were different things they could do with one single scarf. So thinking about the kind of things you can do with your products and bringing that to life through video content in particular is a really great thing to do in the social media world. Also thinking about sales. So you might know of a particular brand that seems to do sales constantly to the point where you think it's never a sale, it's just the price. You want to move away from that, but be creating sales that are relevant to a particular experience. For example, if your customers have been very important, then you can give them a special discount. They're going to trust that and that reward more than just giving a big sale out every week. And then also something to mark a season, so that people are expecting, for example, Black Friday sales, etc., so that they can come there and get a sale when they're expecting it. So thinking about the kind of sales you might want to operate and when they might be done is important too. And then don't forget the all-important job opening times. So we've got a session on getting visible on Google, and it talks about Google Business Profile. And Google Business Profile could be used as well as another form of social media. And that has your opening times on there. And the Open Now feature was a really big and important point of what people were looking for, a massive search. So people need to know if you're open or not. So keeping those opening times seems really simple, but keeping people up to date is important, because if people go to somewhere and it's not open, or they try and connect with you and you're not open, they will see that as a negative experience, and it could make you lose customers. And also engaging with your customers directly. So that's polls. Yes, it's asking information. It's saying, should I do this discount or this discount? Should we run this offer or this offer? Should we bring in this new product? Or what are your thoughts around our designs? Lots of things that we could ask our customers and make them feel that they've grown the business together, and they then expand that to their audiences, and then before you know it, your business grows. But alongside that, you want to respond to reviews, because reviews are a real clue into what's working well and not in your business, and it's a real opportunity to develop on what isn't working well and to respond and be human, because ultimately we can't get things right all the time. So remember that whatever is said in a review is public. So if we're treating people well, and as customers we want to be treated well, if we're treated in the same way as we'd want to be treated, the chances are that will look good to anybody else looking at those reviews. So don't worry about difficult reviews coming through, worry more about how you respond to them. And we have a session on writing for social media that goes through that in more depth as well. So we're in an experience economy. So it's all about running with experiences and letting people know what we're doing and where we are and what's happening. And you might have seen certain brands that have brought experiences into the online world from the offline world. So for example, Coca-Cola bottles with people's names on. You interact with it, you engage with it because it's got your name on and you want everybody to see it. So tools like that, ideas like that, and innovation that gets people to want to share their experiences online from the offline world are really clever as well. And it's all because we enjoy experiences and we enjoy personalization. So people connecting with us and making us feel important, or something beautiful, for example, Starbucks seasonal cups, and letting those experiences get shared. These are our ways of getting people to encourage a connection with our brand, to create a real, a relatable relationship, and keeping it up to date. So keeping it current in what's happening in the world around us. Those sorts of things will really help to expand the awareness and reach of your brand, and is really useful for keeping people aware and top of mind as to what you do and why you do it. As well as experiences, it's about kinds of content that we are sharing and looking a bit more in depth at how we're creating that content. So until I discovered the tool Canva, I was spending an awful lot of money on designs that I didn't need to spend. So although there are needs for sort of certain designs to be done specifically, for the general social media world, we can use great graphics through canva.com. So Canva, we don't need the graphic designer to do it. It helps us give different sizes and dimensions for different platforms. So it's all preset for us. And then we can set it up with the visuals. And there is a charge if we're going to use it for professional use. I think it's somewhere around £100, but don't quote me on that, per year. But it's within reach, and it helps us get those graphics out there. It also now creates videos, so we can create videos through Canva and little animations and all sorts. So it's a nice and simple to use tool that will help our brand get more awareness online through lovely and beautiful and consistent graphics. Also, grammar is important. So lots of people care about grammar, and they think about when they read something that gives them the idea of trust and quality. They come together with how it's read. And Grammarly.com is a great tool for learning about that as well. So using Grammarly will help you. It is an Americanized tool, so keep that in mind, but it's a great tool for scanning and checking that your grammar is correctly made, so that when you're putting content out there, you can feel more confident about it. And then think about managing your social media accounts. So if you have got a few accounts at once, which many of us do have 2 or 3 as an average, then you might want to use Hootsuite, which is a brilliant tool for scheduling content in advance. So if you're a busy business owner and you don't have time to schedule that content, you can put it in advance and get it all created for certain dates and times, so that your message is going out regularly and you're not missing that fresh content that customers are hoping to see. So you've got the knowledge. Now let's see if we can get it into action. So the first thing we're going to do is think about setting our goals. So I'd really love you now to just drop in the chat what one goal are you going to have from this session today? What one thing? Because if you put it down and you write it, it means you're going to do it. It gives it power. So put down in the chat one goal for what you will do today. Maybe it's checking the goal for a particular platform like Facebook or Twitter. Maybe it's a goal that you have as a business that you want to create more brand awareness, and then maybe make a list of the things you can do to create that awareness or to improve that customer service, depending on your goal. Think then about that defined tone of voice and what you stand for as a business, and put together that document of guidelines as to what your brand represents, so that you know that you're thinking of the audience, you're also speaking in the right tone of voice, and you're getting the content that they're going to want to see. And finally, choose the right platforms that they're on. You don't want to be everywhere. What platforms are they on? So please do share any goals you have in the chat box. And finally, some questions. There's none coming through at the moment, but if you do have any, do send them through, because we've just got a couple of minutes left. So keep them coming through and let us know what your questions might be. What else can you do? So I've mentioned quite a lot of courses. I've seen a thing from Juliet. We need to collect more reviews. My goal will be to ensure our Trustpilot is connected to our website and social media, and plan a goal to gather more reviews. That's fantastic, Juliet. That's a really specific goal as well. So we know what you're going to do, by when, and where. So that's really useful to have that down. Fantastic. Mary Evans, to drive more traffic to the website. Brilliant. So we've got a clarity on the goal that we've got there, Mary, and what might you do to drive that traffic? Perhaps you might want to think about the kind of content you want to create to do that. Sarah Grabham, my goal is to post more frequently. Fantastic. So after this, it's maybe creating a calendar of when you're going to post and then putting that into Hootsuite so that it's done for you. Fantastic. Ushnish, checking on competition to refine the messaging. Fantastic. So looking at what our competitors are saying and learning from them so that we can develop further from their winnings and their losings, should we say. So lots of great goals in here, and do keep them coming. So some other next steps is to look at the content that I mentioned in terms of the courses. I spoke about writing for social media, which will help you understand how to create those brand guidelines that I mentioned throughout this session, and also to look more at your audience, as well as looking at how to manage customer service and any reviews coming through. And the other thing is create videos for YouTube. So going on there, you'll be able to see what great video content you can create. And I mentioned as well, building your business brand online. So that's a great way of looking at all those tone of voice and elements that we've talked about in terms of personality. So we've got another one from Lee Stern, to develop a strategy template to help my new agency pitch for business. Fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant, Lee. So I hope you've got some pointers from today and that's been useful. And also, if you want to do a digital strategy as well, we have a digital marketing strategy session that you might want to attend. Also, do not forget about the free mentoring. So that's for small businesses and for charities, and that's at g.co/UK mentoring. So do sign up to that. It's free and you can have multiple sessions. And the great thing about that is there can be many different people that you meet with different specialities along the way that you can speak to and get answers from in terms of your particular deep dives into what we're doing today. Cariessa, I'm wondering about LinkedIn. Can we find a business partner through that platform? Because usually I've heard that LinkedIn usually used for searching for a job or looking at someone's CV. You can, Cariessa. It's a great place for building partnerships. So finding out who is of importance to you. So looking at your audience for your business, and it sounds like you might be business to business. So thinking about who is your audience and who will be the decision makers in that audience will help you to then reach out on LinkedIn and connect with those people, either through groups or perhaps messaging. But I would say creating thought leadership content on LinkedIn from yourselves and commenting on other people's groups and comments is a good way as well of letting people know your expertise. So do keep fresh content on LinkedIn and share ideas, share thoughts, share what you're up to, any events you've gone to, give feedback. There's lots you can do on LinkedIn to start getting the ball rolling. And then to get those partnerships, you can start reaching out to them once you've got that audience in mind. Thank you all for all coming today. We've actually got a couple of minutes left if you've got any questions. But otherwise, I hope that this has been a great session. I hope that you do put those goals in place. And I invite you to write down all your thoughts into a document today and to make them happen, and then to book in with a mentoring session with one of us. Myself and Glenn are also mentors on the sessions. So book in with us and we will gladly take you through the next steps and into some more depth on your particular businesses. And thank you, Lee, and thank you, Mary, and all the people that are saying thanks to us in the chat. And I wish you all the very best of luck in your business, and hope to see you again soon. I'm Annie, and this has been Glenn. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.